You'll be surprised to know I'm reading a book. Now, it's unusual for me to read a book. I listen to lots of books. I've got to do audio books in my ear, and I listen, and all the time I'm working, I'm listening to a book. You know, like doing the gardening or dishes, or she's saying, wind up, keep moving. I'm reading a book by Hugh Mackay. Now, Hugh Mackay is one of the people I think has a great deal of human wisdom. In fact, I think that what he writes, even though he says he's left the church, is very soundly Christian in its basis. I'm reading the book called The Inner Self. It's not an audio book, it's a digital book now. This is actually the first book I've read on my tablet. It's an e-book. He basically starts by saying that at the core of humanity is love. We have love at the core of humanity. And what we do is we tend to hide from love. So rather than discovering our inner self, we hide in all sorts of places, regular places, which I won't go into because that's irrelevant to what I want to talk about. Near the beginning of the book, he wrote something that I thought was really profound, and I wanted to share with you as an introduction to thinking about communion. I think what he says here really identifies for me to some degree, to what love is about, but also it draws me to the thought of what this remembrance is about. Let me share it with you. Understanding that he sees love as the core of all humanity and everything else is kind of a hiding from, even getting lost in our hiding places. Underlying all our reasons for hiding from ourselves is a reluctance to face the question, what will be required of me if I get to the core of who I am? Whatever hiding place we choose, part of our motivation is likely to be our anxiety about whether we have what it takes to rise to the human challenge to live more lovingly. To be habitually loving as a daily discipline can seem a daunting prospect. To adopt compassion as a way of life takes courage. To live according to the dictates of the purest essence of self is a challenge. No wonder we sometimes feel like hiding, especially when there are so many comfortable hiding places on offer. Love brings out the best in us, but we don't always want the best brought out in us, because that standard might be too high and the demand too great. Love promotes goodness, but we don't always want to be good. Love encourages us to live noble rather than merely moral lives, but we'd sometimes prefer to settle for the lazy old defence of unloving behaviour. I did nothing ethically or legally wrong. Love nurtures a generosity of spirit, but the temptation to be mean-spirited is sometimes irresistible, especially when we're feeling outraged. Love calls us on to forgive, even though revenge often seems justified and more natural. Love equips us to tolerate and try to understand those who are so different from us, though it would be easier to retreat to a position of judgment and hostility. Above all, and very inconveniently, love demands that we sometimes sacrifice our own needs in favour of the more compelling needs of others. Jesus talked to us about love, and what we have here is the expression of this core which is at humanity. self-sacrificing love expressed at the extreme. Here Jesus gives himself to offer us something, to offer us forgiveness, to show us how deep the love of God is, and to call us to follow him in that process, to put love at the core of who we are and to live lovingly.